Alright, what's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode here on SHARKNEWZ. As it appears, we got something new to look forward to in regards to a G.I. Joe cartoon. Now, if you guys remember from a few years ago, there was supposedly going to be a new G.I. Joe animated series, which I have no idea what happened to after. I remember there was some type of panel or there was like something where they had, uh, people who were there attending, seeing it on the screen about like some render art or something involving characters and what they were projecting them to look like, etc., etc. But I believe it got canceled, or we haven't heard the light of day of that for the past like 3 years. So I'm pretty sure it is canceled at this point. However, as of right now, thanks to Deadline and Collider, who just shared the information in regards to the animated series for G.I. Joe, but not what you're probably assuming it to be. It appears that, according on Deadline's website, it says Robert Kirkman's Skybound Entertainment has teamed up with Hasbro's Entertainment to produce the Energon Universe, which we know was a Skybound, the comic series that had um, the GI Joe and Transformers crossover. So now this says this will be an animated series based on the comics and the same name created by Robert Kirkman, published by Skybound, and a guy named Joe Henderson, who created Lucifer, is attached to write the adaptation and serve as the showrunner on the series as an epic crossover of G.I. Joe, Transformers, and the Void Rivals mythology, which is expected to be taken out to buyers shortly. So here's what I'm trying to think here. So as I scroll down, it says, despite featuring the family-friendly Hasbro characters, G.I. Joe, and Transformers, the Energon Universe series will be broad with adult sensibility in the vein of Kirkman's gritty adult animated series, Invincible. Now, Robert Kirkman has made, Invincible, but he's also done shows like The Walking Dead. So we know with those intensity level shows and with all that, I guess, blood and gore and all that stuff, will the G.I. Joe portion of this be in that category? Because we know that G.I. Joe Resolute is and will always be the greatest, supposedly R-rated, G.I. Joe movie, quote unquote, that we have today, in terms of the most adult version of it. I particularly am not a fan of Transformers and G.I. Joe doing a crossover, nor am I a fan of reading, or I shouldn't say I'm a fan, but I'm not really into reading the Skybound comics or the Energon versions anyway, so it's not necessarily in my field of interest. However, because this involves G.I. Joe and we finally get to see G.I. Joe come back as an animated series, but with the with the inclusion of Transformers characters, this is pretty interesting because we are already aware that the G.I. Joe Hasbro team has already created somewhat of a tease within their G.I. Joe Classified line by giving us the Energon universe within the characters or figures also known as the Mole Rats. And we recently had a Mole Rat Stage 2 figure announced at New York Comic Con, which has the Energon crystals coming out of their faces and stuff. So what does this really mean for the future of G.I. Joe Classified, in the sense of now if we're getting an animated series involving the Energon universe? So this basically means we could be getting more new classified figures, but in the Energon comic style, which I know some figures have, like Nemesis Immortal Enforcer, I think were already the inspiration behind that design. So I think we're kind of slowly heading towards that field, which might be very interesting to see how the future of some classified figures will get the Energon comic book or even the Energon animated series treatment, which could be its own subgroup within the classified line. So that's pretty interesting. So other than that, it does say that he did create the shared universe with Transformers and G.I. Joe, etc., something I don't really care about, in the sense of when I think of because we know that there's going to be GI Joe within the Transformers universe in terms of the next upcoming featured film, as we saw in the the Transformers Rise of the Beast movie, where they hinted GI Joe is also going to be incorporated in that particular franchise moving forward. The thing is, when you have characters like Optimus Prime doing his thing, or even Bumblebee, and then suddenly you'll have like Duke and Snake Eyes, and I know that Transformers always had militaries within their assistants in certain movies, but when it comes to, I guess, when I think of the realistic approach of it, you're kind of like, okay, do I see Optimus Prime with Snake Eyes riding on his back? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems a bit weird to me. And it always had. And I do know that Cobra Commander did show up in the Transformers animated series. So that was a really nice little tease. And if you don't know anything about that, go ahead and check out that episode where Cobra Commander came in, the ending of that episode, because that was like the prelude to the GI Joe cartoon and the establishment of Cobra. So I thought that was cool. Otherwise, according to what website is this? Collider. Pretty much gives us the same information, other than we know that they're just pretty much in development. So it just talks about how they lost the Transformers license in 2021, how IDW lost the license, and then they're talking about other Hasbro properties like Mask, etc., etc. So yeah, otherwise, I don't know what to really make of this, other than I'm really excited to see GI Joe at least come back in a animated series form, which has been completely long overdue. So other than that, I'm excited for that portion, but the Transformers part, I don't know, because I haven't read the comics. No, so for those who have read the comics and those who are a fan of the comics, let me know in the comments below. Will this be a great idea? Do you think the series will be great? Do you think that the GI Joe Transformers universe will be an adult style cartoon, or do you think they're going to make it completely, not as great? Because if those who have seen The Walking Dead or read the Invincible comic books or even the animated series, maybe might be more to your liking. So, because again, Transformers and GI Joe is a bit of an odd mix for me personally, but this might be great for you. So, with that being said, let me know in the comments below. The link will be in the description for these links if you want to read the article. And I'll be sure to talk to you all in the next episode, and let's see where this goes. Let's have some fun with it.